The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to some of you. Just a few more minutes here. We'll give a few more minutes for people to jump on, and then we'll get started. Just hold on. Thank you all for joining today's session. We'll begin momentarily here. We'll start at a couple minutes past the hour here. We'll give a few more minutes for people to join as I still see some attendees logging in. All right, looks like we've got a number of attendees joining today's call. I appreciate everyone joining. Welcome. Just to let you all know, this session is being recorded, and we will distribute it out after today's call. So in case you want to revisit any of the material that we're covering today or the topics, just be aware that we will distribute this out to all our customers after today's call. So first and foremost, I want to welcome everyone for joining today. We've got some exciting topics. I want to thank you for joining us late on a Friday or early on a Friday, depending on what time zone you're in. We do have some exciting topics today to cover. We're going to cover some intros briefly, just who's here today. We're going to cover some of the recently added features and what's coming up with SmartPM. For some of our older customers, they've seen the transformation of a lot of these new enhancements and features. Some of our newer customers probably don't know what we've done over the past few months to enhance the product, but have seen the results of that. And I definitely want to thank all of our existing customers for participating in calls, submitting suggestions to us, giving us ideas, and helping to guide our roadmap to make a more enhanced product, a more user-friendly product, and bring you the features that you're all interested in. We've got two features today that we're excited to show you, part of the new enhancements over the past few weeks and few months, which are our rebaselining feature and the change order feature. And then we will cover some of the newer features that are going to be coming up in the next few months to 6 months, maybe even a year. We'll hear from our CTO, Rohit Sinha, on some of those topics coming down the pike here shortly. So This is John Fiskowski here with you today. I'm kicking it off. I'm going to be turning it over to Billy Upchurch, who's going to be taking you through a lot of the features and the demos here. We'll have some Q&A after each demo that we go over. So when we cover the rebaselining, we'll open it up to some Q&A in case there's any questions, troubleshooting issues that you might have experienced already. But we want to make sure that we cover any questions that you have with these features, so that at the end of today's session, you've got a solid understanding of how to employ them on your project analysis. And again, we'll hear from Rohit towards the end of today's session on those features that are coming down the pike. I wanted to start off today just by listing out some of the noteworthy features that we've added this year. And these are just some of the major features that we've added. There's also enhancements that we've made that are more, visual or graphical, just from an interface perspective. But these are the things that I think as a user, you would be mostly using and interested in. And again, these are features that have come to us really through the suggestions and through our discussions with our customer base. So we appreciate all that, and I want to thank you all for that again. Please continue to use the suggestion box within the product to provide us with ideas and with insight as to what features and what components you would like to see enhanced. We're always looking for great ideas, and our development team is always looking for something new and challenging to do. Today, we're going to talk about two of these, the automatic rebaseline and the change order TIA scenario condition. But if you do see anything on here that you're unfamiliar with, I would suggest that you reach out to us after the call today, and we can walk through any of these, including, the historical NOAA weather data that's in the product, or, any of the enhanced filtering that we have included in our Gantt chart. So if you've got any questions about what these features are or want to see them in more detail, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always willing to set up some time and walk through those with you. So I'm going to turn it over to Billy now, and he's going to take you through the first demo, which is the rebaselining demo. Billy?
Awesome. Thanks, John. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday to all of you. I'm going to pull up my screen real quick. Show my screen. Let's see. Make sure I'm show the correct screen here. There we go. John, are you seeing the demo video there?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay. Once again, welcome everybody. As John was showing you, there's a whole host of new features out there. Some of you have taken full advantage of them. Others, we just want to make sure you guys are up to speed on the new capabilities of SmartPM and how our Rohit and his team have been just pounding out these features and really making this thing seamless and quite usable. So the other thing I'll be fighting is today is this may be my most challenging demo yet, because I'm going to be demoing against myself. I had produced two videos for each one of these features this week with the thought of just kind of playing them here for you guys and letting them run. Because, as you guys know, it takes a little bit of time for SmartPM to produce an analysis or go run its calculations. So in the interest of time, I kind of had edited some videos down. But turns out, since our last webinar, GoToMeeting has changed its package structure, and our package no longer supports native video playing in a webinar. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play the video and I'm going to narrate it live. So you may see me pause, you may see me back up a little bit, but that's just, that's what we're going to do today. So it'll be exciting. It'll be fun. All right. So we'll start off with the setting a project rebaseline new feature. I think many of you guys have used this. Essentially, in a project, it comes down, there always seems to come a time where the schedule has changed significantly. There's been a major resequencing, maybe a large change order, additional scope of work added, or just simply the compression has gotten too high. to really sustain the project anymore in a feasible manner. So, we're looking at that 44% compression, that forecasted completion dates out way too far. We made that future recovery. When you have that negative future recovery, that's indicating that there is, that end date has been manually pushed out by changes, and there may have been a significant change order or added scope of work to the job. So we'll focus on what that looks like today, and rebaselining against that. And we'll click into the civil project in our demo site, where we'll land on the schedules tab. And the schedules tab, as I always say, is a great place to start, because you're going to be able to see the number of activities there, as well as the planned and actual percent complete, and then the end date there at the far right column. So as you scroll down, you get a sense for what's happening, and then sure enough, and in this case it's really convenient because it's named the rebaseline schedule, but you see that significant jump in activities, as well as that significant push in end date variance. So this is a classic rebaseline situation here. The other way you can go analyze and visualize those rebaselines are going to be in the trends menu. You can start to scroll down and hit my favorite chart, the schedule changes over time. And there's that September update where we can see the activities being added and that logic, those logic change curves jumping. So two different ways, and a third way too, forgot I did this. Third way, when you see, and I'm actually going to pause here. So when you see this actual progress rate here to the left of the data date, and then whenever you see kind of a significant spike in planned production rate, that indicates that there was significant changes in the schedule as well. So that actually came in the schedule after, so it's even more reason to go ahead and schedule that September schedule update as a rebaseline. So what is the rebaseline going to do? It's going to go look at your critical path delay, your future recovery, your compression, if you had a forecasted date so far, and it's just going to reset everything. We're going to go reset all of the metrics to zero and zero out the project on that September update. And to do that, we'll head over to the schedules tab. We'll scroll down and you'll notice this new column second from the right. You'll notice these circular arrows that are now there. This is the rebaseline column. You can interact with any of these circular arrows to set that schedule as a rebaseline. Scroll back up to the top and you'll see the bookmark icon there on the very first schedule. That's obviously a baseline that got set. And that's indicated by that bookmark. So any rebaselines that you set in your project will be notified by a bookmark. So we'll click on the circular arrow here and we'll give this a name. We'll call this the September rebaseline and give it a description. You see that? I edited out me typing, guys. So now we'll be able to see that September and October are going to be our two schedules that are left. And all the basis of analysis will start with that September update. SmartPM will then remind us of the activities that we've already tracked to when we created the project, and will also give you the ability to select additional activities that you want to track to, starting with this new rebaseline. Finally, the last part, if you do have any conditions you'd like to apply, you can apply them there. We don't have any for this project, but there we go. The project baseline was created successfully. And when the SmartPM goes and runs the analysis, we have that bookmark there that is indicating that we have a new rebaseline in our hands. So to show you what exactly has happened, we'll go click on the analysis tab. Nope, scenarios tab, faked myself out. This is fun. And you'll see this new drop down that's in the scenarios tab. We have that rebaseline listed there. I can now see all of my new metrics are reset based on that September rebaseline. Critical path delay is back to a more reasonable figure. That more importantly, in this case, that future recovery is now back to zero, because the issue we were trying to overcome was that manual push of the end date due to changes in the schedule. So now that future recovery is back to zero, and we're measuring against what should be perceived to be the new contractual end date of the project. Schedule compression is set back to zero, and we can now see all of the track twos as we scroll down are all being based off that September baseline. Over in the analysis tab, you're able to now toggle between scenarios. So I can now toggle between all of my tracked activities based on the September rebaseline. The summary there is you can now see that we're starting with September. The delay, once again, reset in September. So you're able to go get all those same metrics that we had before, but for that new rebaseline feature. If you wanted to remove the rebaseline, you can actually click on that bookmark right there, and you can undo that baseline. So if you needed to remove it from your analysis, you can do it that way, and you can also keep some of the scenarios that you've already created if you'd like to keep that too. One of the questions we get often is, how many rebaselines can I do? And the answer is you could theoretically rebaseline every single activity or every single schedule in this in your project. The only thing that's going to happen is you're just going to have a lot of scenarios, right? So it's just how much data are you going to be able to process. SmartPM is doing all the heavy lifting. So we encourage you guys to use this tool. It's much more seamless than it used to be, where if you had to rebaseline, you had to go to scenarios and then recreate each one and manually select each schedule you wanted to include. This is now one touch, and it gets you going even quicker. So with that, I don't know if we had any questions come in. If you guys want to submit some questions in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, we can call on you. Anybody have any questions right now? John, do you have any FAQs you can think of that we can throw out?
The one thing I would say maybe on the FAQ side is how can I view this on maybe the summary level report?
Sure.
How can I view these rebaselines? How does that affect my percent complete curves and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a great let me pull up our production site here.
And one other thing I want to add is Billy is working hard on these video tutorials and things like that, and soon they're going to be embedded in the product. So you'll be able to quickly go in and toggle on these videos, where you can click on it and it'll pop up a little window and you can view this video. So he's working on trying to make it easier for you to go into the product and just see how to do something, as well as the same videos and everything will be available in the help desk. So there'll be a lot more resources available for you and new team members to actually go into the product and start using it without necessarily having to go through a full training and everything. And of course, the team is always here to help you in any way possible.
Wow, I've got that on record now. This is a recorded session with Rohit throwing me a compliment. But yeah, no, he's right. We're producing a series of 30 to 45 second videos that are going to be embedded in the software that should help you guys get up to speed and remind yourselves just of what exactly each feature does and how it's calculated and ways to use it. So John was mentioning that, yes, so now that we have these rebaselines built in, you have it touches a lot, it touches many more other facets of the software. So we saw in the analysis tab and the scenarios tab, also here in the summary report, if I click the summary report, we can see that, we have our original scenario here with that planned and actual curve and our milestones we're tracking to, giving us the variances and the forecasted dates based on that baseline plan date. But we also do have the ability now to utilize those rebaselines we've set. So now if I click on, say, this June 8th, 2020 rebaseline, give our software a chance to recalculate, I can now, I've essentially reset each milestone against that new baseline, where our variances are all zeroed out and our forecasts are now even. And then also another piece of this is in the trends chart. You're going to be able to see each curve for each one of your baselines. So I can see this blue curve here is that original plan I had. And then we've rebaselined, it looks like about once every week since starting in May. So the curves are pretty close to each other, but you do get that sense for how each curve is getting a little less and less more likely to happen, or it's reflecting reality a little bit more there. So cool. Thanks for that, John. Any other questions coming from coming from the chat or any customers out there? And as always, you guys feel free to reach out to us on the side after this call if you want to walk through of this on your project. Cool. Okay, so the next video I'm going to pop up is I guess it's the newest feature, would it be, Rohit? Is the change condition analysis. So you guys are familiar with our scenario conditions and how they're usable in the scenario. In scenarios, so you're able to go into scenario conditions and model the data. Up until a few weeks ago, there's always been 4 there. We've had the revert and the reject, the bulk change, and the one-off change. There's now a 5th scenario, which is going to allow you to drop Fragnet or TIA activities directly into a schedule in SmartPM, and then allow SmartPM to run the analysis with those activities in place so that it can actually calculate the impact of the TIA or those Fragnet activities. So, we want to figure out, all right, we have a 30-day Fragnet network that we want to test. It may not calculate 30 total days of delay. It may calculate 12 because that's only what impacted the critical path. So that's what we're trying to test here. We're trying to say, if we had these activities in a prior schedule, would SmartPM have picked them up as delay events? And so you see down here, the bottom option, the change condition, where we can create this new correction. We'll click on that, and it's going to open up the TIA building modal and allow us to start building that. So let's fast forward a little bit. Oh, actually, no, we're going to go take a look at our original schedules real fast. So first thing you want to do when you're building this TIA, especially in SmartPM, is understand where your project is right now. You want to understand where your critical path is, where your current delays as originally calculated are, just so you have a good sense of your project. One of the things that we stress as a company is objectivity. So you're really trying to, in this case, test objectively if these activities are impacting, and the first step in doing that is understanding where your critical path or historical critical path has been. So we can see that we have some critical path through the elevators, some civil work there. It actually does getting into erect steel in level 2. So we're getting a feel for where that critical path is currently. And then what we can also do here before we create a TIA is we're actually going to add an activity code. So I want to go in and add a custom activity code in SmartPM, and I'm just going to call it a TIA activity code. And this will allow us to group this impact analysis in SmartPM utilizing the organize function. So now when I go create these activities with the tool, I'm going to drop them. I'm going to drop an activity code in there for TIA, and it's going to help me group them and understand them in the Gantt chart view. So we'll go to change condition. And I know that my delay started on January 6th. So I want to select the most earliest schedule from then. So the next schedule back from January 6th is going to be that December 2nd update. The other piece in this is you really want to understand the delays, how long I should call them the events, how long they took, and what activities already currently in your schedule they impacted. I think this is very important. I'll pause it here. So we're trying to analyze this as objectively as possible. You want to take out any preconceived notions that the site team may be feeding you or that you may have from a client or a customer. And you're going to want to kind of off onto the side, and I had an Excel spreadsheet up on my other screen, list out each event, when it actually started, when it occurred, and then list out any predecessors or successors that those activities could have impacted or started after. It's really important to have that story laid out in a understandable manner and as accurately as possible in order to get the correct answer you're looking to get from SmartPM. So I've selected that December schedule update, and I'm here in this modal where I'm going to be able to go click the add activity button there on the right. And this is probably me giving that same spiel I just gave right now in the video. So I'm going to scroll a little bit, and there we go. We'll go click on that activity, and we'll click a start milestone. So we're going to add a start milestone into the schedule. I'm going to call this TIA 01. We'll give it a name. So notification, this is that factory shutdown. So we had a COVID case in a steel factory. And then you'll just build this thing out like you would any other activity in any other scheduling program. So I'm going to give it an actual start date. I gave it a calendar. Now I'm going to go add those activity codes that we were talking about earlier. So the overall activity code, and then I'm going to give it a that TIA activity code that we added earlier. I'll then add the predecessor to this start milestone. So we were notified of this. Finished the start wise right after structural steel, the first structural steel activity. So I'll add that in there, and we're not going to add any successors right now because of the successors are going to be activities we have yet to create. So we're just going to leave that blank, and I'll click save. So now we have that start milestone saved. I do have the ability later on to go edit that if I needed to, and I have the ability to delete it if I want to as well. So I'll click add activity to now go add the second event, and I'm going to choose a task this time. I'll give it, once again, an activity ID TIA02. Activity name is going to be the shutdown duration, and I'm going to also note that it is affecting phase 4 of steel erection. What's different here is that I'm going to give this a planned duration. So this is useful in tracking what you were told versus what's actually happened when you're looking back on things. So we were told the factory shutdown is going to be a month, so I'm going to throw in 30 days. I'm then going to give it a standard 5-day work week, and I'm also now going to add the actual dates for which the factory was shut down, which was January 6th to February 14th. So over a month. I could give it a WBS code if we were using WBS codes, but I'm actually going to go give it those same activity codes I gave the initial start milestone. And then I'm going to add that predecessor of that first TIA activity that we created. We'll see it right there. We'll give it the finish to start with TIA01 factory shutdown notification. I'm going to save that. Once again, I'm not going to give this a successor because now I'm adding a third TIA activity, and we're going to tie TIA2 to TIA3. So now we have a lead time. The factory is back up. Now we have a lead time for production and delivery. There's our planned duration. We were told 40 days. Now we're going to give it that duration of May 15th through April 10th. One more time, we're going to add the activity codes. It's always good to group these things for easy viewing within your project. So now we'll add the predecessor here. I'm going to click on that. I'll add a TIA02, and we'll give this a finish to start tie as well. Now I am going to add a successor here. So I'm going to add a successor, and I'm going to go find the activity that was waiting on, the first activity that was waiting on steel that was delayed. So I'm going to filter for that sequence 5 erect steel. I'm going to give it a finish to start tie, and I'll click save. And we have our TIA now built out. Just a simple 3 activity TIA. You can build these out as complicated or granular as you need to. We'll go review, and we'll call this factory shutdown, and there we go. The conditions set. Once again, this is just a tool in a toolbox. I haven't really done anything with it yet, except for just build it out for use in the scenarios tab, which we'll go to now. So I'll click create scenario. Factory shutdown analysis. We'll set it to automatically update, and we'll give it a description here. We're gonna analyze the impact of phase 4 steel erection to the factory shutdown. I'm gonna analyze this under my original rebaseline. I'm gonna go full schedule, and I'm going to click on factory shutdown. So I'm gonna add that now to the scenario. So now it's off and running, and we're about to go into the delay analysis vortex, and we're back. And we're going to scroll down, and just like demo magic, we have our factory shutdown analysis done. I'm going to click on that link right there. And the first place I always go is to the Gantt chart because I'm a scheduling guy, and that's just where I head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter again for complete critical path. of the factory shutdown scenario to understand where the delays are, or if there are delays, I should say. So there's our time impact analysis activity code, and I can see my critical path is through there. I'm going to open it up to get a sense for the activities that we've added. We can see, and sure enough, it looks like the factory shutdown notification and the duration are concurrently delaying the job. You can see there on the right side. I can go now get those figures. If you remember, we had a 30-day duration on this, on that delay duration, and it actually, affected 9 days that we can see there. So you're able to now understand, yeah, I had a duration that the factory was shut down, but now I can actually understand the effect it had on my critical path. It looks like maybe a total of 18 days just from the first two activities, if you look at it, their concurrency. So, as I'm showing you here, once again, a 30-day duration, not necessarily the full impact of the job, or not even the actual duration either. So the other thing we can take a look at is not only the prior impact of this TIA, but we can also take a look at the future impact of this TIA. So as we look at that third activity we added, that structural steel lead time, it's halfway done at this point. And you can see that gap there in the critical path. It's actually having future negative recovery right now. It's actually, so we had a delay in the past, but it's actually now pushing out erect steel sequence 5, the activity we tied it to in the impact analysis. And so this TIA is getting us on both ends. It's delaying us on the back end, but it's also pushing out our end date with the future work that's still, or the future lead time that's we're still waiting on. And that in period negative recovery is that 33 days right there. So we can, get a sense for what's happening. Let's see where I go next. There we go. We're going to head back over to the analysis tab. And now you're going to have the ability to, in the analysis tab, you're going to be able to export out that delay table. You can export out that original delay table. You can export out that factory shutdown analysis delay table and compare those two in Excel. All the reporting will now be reflective of both scenarios. So you can always compare these reports, the original pink report versus the TIA reports. Obviously now changes are going to be different. Changes are going to be different criticality across the board. And then the trends and the quality and all of that. So if you guys want to watch the rebaseline walkthrough again. So that's the newest condition we have out there. I'm going to steal a little bit of Rohit's thunder and say that we do, hopefully in the very near future, we're going to have an export feature available where you're going to be able to export Microsoft Project or XCR Primavera files. So when you do build these change orders into your schedule or into a scenario, you're not going to be doing double work. You're going to be able to export those out and then be able to turn in that file or go report on that file and have the analysis in hand. So you really do. Usually you do the TIA and the schedule file, then analyze it. What you're actually doing is analyzing it and then printing off that XCR or MPP file. So I'll stop there. I'll open it up to any questions. I think, John, if you've got any more FAQs, I don't see any questions on the board. I'll be happy to answer any of that.
Nothing to add from an FAQ perspective. I guess I would say, again, just kind of reiterating that this is one of the features that I think a lot of people were asking for when we talked with our customers. And really what you're seeing now is the end result of that implementation from our development team, right? So we do take those suggestions, they're vital to our roadmap and they help us shape our roadmap and what we do next and what we offer out as new features. And this was definitely one that kept hitting the radar for a number of people. So certainly excited to kind of see this be a new condition for us. Rohit's going to talk about in the future here in a few minutes about what's coming down the pike. And I mean, some of the stuff that we have on that is, again, a direct result of input from our customers. So this one's super exciting for sure, having the ability to go in, insert a change order, insert a TIA, and make the links. So.
The one thing I'd add there is we really appreciate all the feedback, and if you guys have any questions or any suggestions on how we could make these features more usable for you, we'd love to hear them. If you feel like there's something missing or something we can change, we'd definitely like to hear that.
And I'll add one more thing too. As Rohit and his team continue to develop these features and churn them out almost on a bi-weekly basis now, we're going to be looking to hold more of these types of lunch and learns in the future, just to keep people abreast of what's going on, what new features have been added. You might see some things within the product as well, alerting you to a new feature. So you might see some pop-ups that say, hey, check this out, or we've added this new feature here or there. So be on the lookout for those. I know Billy's been working on that in announcements in the product. But to fully get an appreciation of how to do things, we're going to be trying to do these lunch and learns more often as well, and covering some more of those more noteworthy type of features that we release.
Yeah, and thanks to everybody who answered the cost resource loading questionnaire. That's we have a meeting about it on Tuesday, and that's going to be very useful.
Let's see, Billy, if I can just share my screen to go back to Rohit here.
Yep.